Hi guys, and welcome back to another flashlight review. This one is one I've been waiting to do for quite some time now. I've been eyeing this one on AliExpress and I managed to get one sent over to me by Simon from Convoy. So I want to go through and talk to you about how I've used this flashlight, just some of my notes and bits and pieces to help you decide whether this is the right light for you. So basically I've used it for nearly 2-3 weeks, probably longer. I can't remember exactly when I got this light, but it's been a few weeks at least now. And I think the main allure of this light is its copper construction. I mean, everyone's heard of the S2 Plus. It's a very common host that you hear about when people first buy a flashlight. They first get into the hobby. So this is the copper version. And it's got a brilliant sort of yellowish gold luster, I suppose, and definitely feels a lot more premium than some of my aluminium flashlights. It does have some kind of coating on the outside. I may remove that later. We'll see how we go. But yeah, it is really heavy, and that's something that was surprising when I first picked it up, because I've never owned a copper flashlight before. This is my first one. So, I mean, for those of you who are looking for flashlights at EDC, that might be a negative, of course. But for me, it's exactly what I'm looking for in a light to use around the house, and it's definitely very bright for its size. So yeah. I'll just show you my other S2 Pluses as well here, and you can see it's pretty much the same size, but because it's so heavy, it makes me feel like it is larger for some reason. But when you put them side by side, they're exactly the same size. And I actually got a couple of the screw-on clips for the black S2 Plus as well as the copper one. I think it looks better on the copper version, and here is my MAO anodized micro arc oxidized version of the S2. I mean, that is also one of my favorites, and yeah, it's actually held up pretty well since I've got it now. So really good, as you can see. And I've just got a few of my other flashlights to compare it to as well. And as you can see, I mean, they're pretty similar in size, that 18650 configuration. Even the FC11, Workhorse FC11, is pretty similar in size to that. But one thing I've noticed is that it's got pretty much the same diameter all through the body and the head and even the tail cap. So there's little cutouts in there, but that doesn't really make a difference. So yeah, it has a very sleek sort of design. You've got the SP35 here. A couple of these other Sophone SC32. That's the Workhorse FC13, SC32. So they're definitely around the same sort of size as a lot of these 18650 flashlights. So it's definitely around the same size as a lot of these 18650 flashlights. That's from 21700. So let's talk a bit about the construction, LED lens, bezel, and reflector. So solid copper, as I mentioned before, and I noticed when I got it that there was a kind of clear coat on the outside. Normally with copper, you definitely have the actual metallic finish and it tarnishes over time. So a lot of people like that, and I actually like that myself, and was thinking maybe I can get rid of that coating on the outside at some stage. But for some people, they prefer it being varnished, and so that it just keeps its color for longer. And it's done its job. It's certainly working, and yeah, looks fantastic. But for those of you guys who actually want to remove it, there is a way apparently to use some tools, rotary tool, or maybe some steel wool or something like that. But again, it is pretty heavy, over 200 grams, and very well machined. As you can see, it's just quite smooth all the way down. There's a minimalist design. You can see just a couple of cutouts on the tail cap, down the sides, so there really isn't too much knurling or anything down there, but surprisingly it grips quite well. And the SFT40 produces an intense hotspot, plenty of spill, and you can see here, just if I can sort of zoom in a little bit, you've got the smooth reflector around there and anti-reflective lens. Bezel's pretty simple, sits flush with the rest of the body. And yeah, it takes an 18650 cell. I did see on AliExpress as well that Convoy are selling a shorter extension tube, so like an 18350. So you could swap that middle section out and become about half its size. So yeah, that's something if you're keen on reducing the size of this flashlight, making it even more pocketable. All right, so I want to talk a bit about the UI. So I've got the version with the 12 mode grouping, and I've just chosen the grouping option that gives you 5 different brightness options. So that's the lowest, and then you basically half tap 2, 3, 4, 5. That is bright. I can feel it on my hand as well, just the heat coming off that LED. So that's basically it. And if you want to change the modes, I've gone through this in a different video, but basically turn the flashlight on and you just keep on pressing that button 20 times. You can enter a mode, configuration mode. If you want to know a little bit more about that, just let me know in the comments. But on the Convoy AliExpress website, it actually gives you the instructions just in the description. It's quite easy to follow. So if you want, for example, a blinky mode, if you're using this on a bike, if you're using it, you need like a strobe mode or even a battery voltage mode, or maybe you just want simple modes. You want it to turn on to 100% when you click that button on the back, or you want it to just access the low mode. There's actually grouping options for that as well. So I always like getting the 12 mode grouping option just for that particular reason. I can select exactly what I want for the purpose, though, in truth, I've only used the 5 mode one as I've demonstrated here. Okay, so let's talk a bit about performance, and you can see I've got the graph here up on the screen, and the flashlight, as you turn it on, it starts to ramp down roughly near to the 1 minute mark, about 45 seconds. You can see it's holding its 100% mark. Then it just starts going down up until 3 minutes, roughly 3 minutes, where it drops to about 40% of its output, and it held that for nearly 9 minutes of the test. I ended up just switching the flashlight off and ending the test around that time. But it is good to see that the light does remain between 80% and 100% of its output all the way past the 1 minute mark. And I think that's quite good performance, though. I thought with copper, it might be able to hold that turbo mode for a bit longer. But hey, look, at least it still lasts until that 1 minute, 30 second to 1 minute mark. I also did some measurements on my Opal Light Master Pro, and I measured 333 meters on 100%, and the CCT 6583K. So it is a cool white color rendering index 70.1, which is pretty standard for the SFT40 as well. Maximum visibility, I think it's still pretty decent at discerning colors, but it's not going to be as good as the Chia 519A, for example. The beam has a really bright white tint and a hint of coolness. On the lower settings, you can probably run this for close to a day. So yeah, I think the lower settings are really useful if you just want to drag out the performance, drag out the runtime for this particular flashlight. A few considerations you might want to be aware of is that this light is, like I mentioned, is pretty heavy. It means 200 plus grams. And it's something that you're going to feel a bit more in the pocket. Some people don't mind that, but yeah, it's kind of like carrying another phone around or something like that. But again, using around the house, general EDC, where you don't mind the extra weight. Maybe you're going camping or something like that, and you just want to chuck it in the bag. It's not a huge deal, but again, some people do prefer aluminium, myself included. When I'm carrying lights around, it just makes a big difference, much more efficient. Another thing is that I would have preferred for there not to be this varnish sort of coating on the outside. It looks clean, it looks nice, but I just like that sort of original copper patina. But yeah, there've been a few people who have actually removed it successfully using some abrasive tools. I'm not going to be using any chemicals or stuff like that on it. Just don't want to expose myself to any of that stuff. Another consideration is that it's a high candela as well. So if you're using it as a walking light, that's something to keep in mind. You can still use it as a walking light just in the lower modes and the high modes. When you're using it up to maybe 50 meters or something, it's just pretty bright and blinding on yourself. So yeah, something to keep in mind. This is definitely more oriented towards a long range, long distance throwy beam. And yeah, there's no battery included as usual with Convoy, no onboard charging, so you're going to need to go source your own battery and charger. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Overall, I think this is a really unique S2 Plus light, and yeah, I wonder if Simon will actually make one in titanium one day, maybe in bronze, have like a different series of these. The copper does an excellent job at dissipating the heat, and overall, I just love the look and the feel of this light. I didn't realize how heavy it would be in my pocket, but it isn't too noticeable, only when I kind of hold it. But yeah, just keep that in mind if you're packing light. So if you are interested in buying this light, I've actually left a link in the description. Have a look on the Convoy website. You actually get this in a checkered version as well with, you know, different emitters. So you have a couple of body choices and all, you know, different kinds of emitters. So if you need any help, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and click the like button. That gets my videos out to more people. And if you want to see me make more flashlight reviews, make sure you subscribe. Have myself the S2 Plus in copper. Okay, the S2 Plus in copper with the SFT40. Let's try this out. Look at that. Started to rain. Very easily reaching those trees off in the distance, as you can see. Very easily reaching those trees. Nice throwy beam, but with enough flood as well. Look at that. Handling everything up close quite easily. And it does ramp down, but very, very slowly. The copper is absorbing this heat nicely as well. It's just, it doesn't feel hot to the touch where I'm holding it down the battery tube, but at the head it is definitely getting a bit warm. Okay, sort of turn it on and off again, and hopefully get a bit more extra runtime on the turbo. Go for a little stroll. The rain is definitely impacting a bit on the visibility, but it's still quite impressive that it's able to hit those trees in the back. Still, you know, look at that. Hopefully it stops raining soon. Convoy S2 Plus with SFT40. No more rain. Have to rest it off near the bus stop for a bit. And pretty good. Look at that. Let's just see it a lot more. You see the beam pattern a lot more now that the rain's gone. I mean, it's still sort of drizzling here and there, but look at that. I think if I had a choice, I would definitely go with the SFT40 over the NM1 in the S2 Plus. Look, you get a similar level of throw, but just so much more light. It's much more of a useful beam because of all the spill. Off, on again. Just trying to aim it at the same spot. You can sort of just see, every now and then I see some animals in there.